Welcome to thedriftless.net, where we explore the histories, story, geology, geography, people, and communities of the Driftless region. Today's episode is about the Wyalusing River, when the Wisconsin River ran east. The Wisconsin River is familiar to everyone in the state. It starts at Lac Vieux des Aires on the Michigan border and flows into the Mississippi at Wyalusing. But that's only a small part of the story. Did the ancestor of the Mississippi River once take a turn at Wyalusing and run east up the lower Wisconsin River Valley to empty into the Great Lakes and then the Atlantic Ocean via the St. Lawrence River? Such a claim requires extraordinary evidence. Thanks to Eric Carson of the Wisconsin Geological and Natural History Survey and other scientists, that evidence has been assembled. They have published their findings and even made a PBS show about it. Let's look at the science. Some of the evidence is, well, pretty evident once you look at the landscape, even to non-geologists like me. Where the Wisconsin River enters the Mississippi, it should angle downstream as it enters, but it doesn't. Instead, the bluff at Wyalusing curves upstream to the north. No matter where the river runs today, the bluffs record where it flowed thousands of years ago. Tributaries entering the Wisconsin River often do so from valleys that tend to the east, indicating that the river flowed east when the valleys were formed. This is known as a barbed tributary, as a sign that the river has changed in some major way. Again, the current waterways have adapted to the westerly flow, but the bluffs tell an older story. If one were to drive down the river valley from Spring Green to Wyalusing, you'd notice that the valley slowly narrows and the bluffs that define it get higher and steeper. Near Spring Green, the distance between the bluffs is 3 to 4 miles, far enough so it's not always clear you're in a valley. By Boscobel, the valley has narrowed to 2 miles. Just west of Wyalusing, it's under 1.5 miles. This is the opposite of how rivers work. Similarly, the distance between the bluffs on the Mississippi testifies to the change. At the Marquette Prairie du Chien Bridge, the valley is 2.4 miles wide. South of Wyalusing, it's 1 mile narrower. This indicates that the gap there is more recent and not subject to the same forces that carved the river north of Wyalusing. Military Ridge, a resistant formation topped with harder rock, runs across the southern Driftless, but stops at the Mississippi River. The same formation starts on the other side of the Mississippi at Pikes Peak, Iowa. Did this once function as a continental divide, separating the waters flowing to the Gulf from those headed to the Atlantic? Some of the evidence isn't self-evident, but the result of years of hard work by scientists, work that could have disproved the hypothesis, but instead verifies it. As the river erodes into the bedrock, sections of the former riverbed are sometimes left stranded above the new river. These are called terraces and are clues to the past. The terraces are higher than the current riverbed, but noticeably lower than the bluffs. Geologists were able to identify 3 such terraces, all on the north side of the river. They are at Bridgeport, Wazeeka, and between Muscadet and Blue River. The bedrock they are on tilts to the east, indicating that the river once flowed in that direction. The difference is slight, but modern equipment can measure it. If the Wyalusing River existed, it would have carved a valley running to Green Bay and Lake Michigan, showing the course of the river. This valley would later have been buried under glacial debris. It can only be detected by mapping the underlying bedrock. Sure enough, geologists discovered just such a valley. It deepens as it trends to the east, showing the direction of the flow. Since the debris covering it is sometimes hundreds of feet deep, they use data from 60,000 wells to map that buried valley. Finally, records of sediment in the Gulf of Mexico indicate that the continental divide was south of Wisconsin at the time in question. Unique rocks of Wisconsin, Minnesota, and North Dakota do not appear in the sedimentary layers from that time. Instead, they were carried into the Great Lakes and then out the St. Lawrence. Just how the river reversed its flow is not fully understood, but this is the mechanism that geologists propose. The Wyalusing was flowing east, but an advancing ice sheet blocked its flow, probably somewhere near the Baraboo Range. This led to the valley flooding, with the water rising up to the very tops of the bluffs. The water found a way, as water will always do, especially in limestone and karst geology like the Driftless. Once a small gap was established, the meltwater from the ice sheet widened, and the river's flow was reversed. As is customary here at thedriftless.net, the link in the notes will take you to the complete research papers, maps, and videos used and discussed. They go into much greater depth than I can in a short video. Thanks for watching.